All right, so I do have a program here, ladies and gentlemen, one more time. She's the reason why we're here. We want to also thank her so much for taking our time to join us here. And, you know, the initiative, in general, to be with us here, giving us a sense of belonging. As you can see, our brothers and sisters came out, their beautiful attires. And you're going to be bombarded with a lot of questions because they did come prepared. Thank you so much for the host as well. What we're going to do actually, we would like to officially open this event. So I'm going to just actually take a seat very quickly. Thank you one more time. Happy Baba.
Yes, sir.
Barrister, can we get lead for the opening prayer because we want to do that immediately. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to have West lead us in this opening prayer. Please, when she says stand, all of you should be standing, okay? Thank you.
Good evening, all.
Good evening.
We will all stand, please, for a brief prayer. Heavenly Father, we come here before you today. We glorify your holy name for your worthy to be praised. For this moment that you brought everybody together for this occasion, for this event, for Miss Angela, Alsobrooks campaign for the PG County Executive. May this be a successful gathering. May the questions that we will ask have a positive answer. May we also pray for her to win this particular election.
Amen.
And whatever that we eat today, be blessed in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Emma. Appreciate that. Please, for those of you that are just joining us, by all means, feel free to grab yourself something to eat or drink. I would like to go ahead, of course, to introduce this gentleman who is the leader of the campaign for African Affairs. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Vincent Iweanoge, please, as he joins us here. Please, a round of applause for this gentleman back here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for and kids, all right, for coming this evening. Actually, today is my son's birthday. I should have been celebrating my birthday, but this is very important.
Hey, son, happy birthday!
You know, he said, "Daddy, go ahead and do your event." So this, because he knows that this is very important. But I want to thank everybody for coming this evening. I met Angela 2 years ago, and I call her Angela now because she's a friend. But actually, she's Miss Alsobrooks. But I met Angela 2 years ago, and I met her at an event, and we talked. And after I talked to her, I said, I listened to everything she had to say. And like I tell people, I got infected. And what I say I got infected is that if you listen to Angela speak, there's no way you wouldn't see the genuineness in her. And knowing that everything she tells you is the way it is. If she don't like something, she'll tell you she doesn't like it. Let's do it this way. But after I met her, we talked a little bit, and I told her about, you know, Africans in the county. And I told her about our population and all the things that we're doing in the county, especially business. And she said, okay, I don't know this, Vincent. Let me go look. Let me go research. And she came back to me and said, you know what, you're right. You know, and I said, I think we need an office, a county executive's office on African affairs. And this is the reason why. And I told her that 22 to 32% of the businesses in the county are owned by people of African descent. And also, I told her that over 12% of the population in the county are Africans in diaspora. And she told me, Vincent, there's no reason why this office shouldn't have been open. But I promise you that once we get in, that's going to be one of my first priorities. And that she's going to work with the council to make sure that that happens. And one of the things I also told her is that, you know, we have a very educated population that I know that are qualified for some cabinet positions and things in the county, but like she said, you know, she didn't speak like a politician. She said, Vincent, we're going to look at everybody fair. And the people that are qualified will be in position. And I hold her to that word because I know, I went back and looked at her record before, when she was running for county, for state's attorney. And I did my research too. And I know she did her research on me. But I did my research and I went back and looked at all the things she said. And I'll tell you, she checked off everything. Everything. So after I did that, and I started spreading the news myself. My brother here, Tony of United Brothers, I went to him and said, listen, we have to support Angela. And all of you here may not know this, but this will be groundbreaking. Why it will be groundbreaking is not about the Office of African Affairs, but this will be the first time the county is electing a woman to be the county executive. And by the grace of God, on June 26th, Ms. Angela Alsobrooks will be the county executive of Prince George's County. And it's my distinct honor to welcome and to bring to the podium Angela Alsobrooks, the next county executive of Prince County.
Everybody.
Good
God is good and worthy to be praised. I am so excited to be here with all of you, and thank you so much for that warm welcome and for all of the love that you have extended to me really over the last several months or so, and especially to Vincent, who, he's right, I met him 2 years ago when he came to an event in Washington, D.C. He brought several friends with him, Joy and some others. And they said, you know what, we're going to support you and get to know you, and that is exactly what they have done. And so I have been so grateful to each of you who I've had a chance to meet in various settings, but I am really grateful and also so excited about where we are in our county. Vincent is right, we are 73 days away from a historic election in this county. And it's not the history that is significant to me. Believe it or not, it is significant because of what we will accomplish. And I have no doubt in my mind whatsoever that when we leave it, it's going to be better than it's ever been before. And why do I say that to you? When I was elected in 2010, as Vincent said, you know, there were certain things that I promised. And I made sure that 8 years, almost 8 years later, we come back and we make sure that we deliver everything we promised. And what is it that we promised? We promised that our families will be able to enjoy the prosperity that is promised to all of us. There's a promise that says all of our families have an opportunity to sit at the table of opportunity, that our children will be well educated. I know there was a question a moment ago about that. And I have to tell you that all of the things that concern you are things that concern me. Let me just go backwards and give you a little bit of my history. I think some of you may have heard some of this because we've met before. But I have been here my whole life. I am a native-born Prince Georgian. But my family actually came to Prince George's County from a place called Seneca, South Carolina. My mother is from Seneca, South Carolina. My father is from a place in North Carolina. But in 1956, on July 4th, my great-grandfather was murdered by a sheriff's deputy in Seneca, South Carolina, left to die right on the side of the road. And you all have been seeing this happen all across the country. It wasn't on television back then. It's on television now when these things happen. But what my family was told, and it was a racial incident, and they said, you know what, if you don't leave, we'll kill the whole family. So by July 19th of 1956, my family moved from Seneca, South Carolina here to Prince George's County. And over the years, what I have come to understand, what has been taught to me, I was raised in a deeply spiritual family. I was raised by two parents who did not have an opportunity to go to college, but who were bound and determined to make sure that I would be educated. And I have one sister. They wanted to make sure as well that she would be educated as well. And so they worked so hard to make sure that I would have that opportunity. I went to a high school in Washington, D.C. called Banneker High School. Graduated from Banneker High School, yes. And I went down to Duke University and got my undergraduate degree there, and then came back to Maryland and became a lawyer and started my first job here in 1997. What I can tell you is I've never forgotten where I came from. My family lived in Suitland, Maryland here, lived in Hillcrest Heights. I never forget the struggles of my parents. I never forget what it's like for parents to have to work hard and then come home and help their kids with their homework in the evenings. I don't forget what it's like for my mother to have sat at the receptionist desk. She worked for nearly 50 years. She retired 2 years ago as a receptionist for 50 years. I don't forget what it's like to work hard and not always have people give you the respect that you deserve. I don't forget what it's like for my father, who was a car salesman. but who was the very best at what he did, the very best at what he did. So I understand that there's dignity in work. I understand as well that we never forget where we came from. I understand that every person that I encounter deserves respect, and that it is my job to make sure that I have had these opportunities, but we have to make sure that some other people have those opportunities as well. This is what I am about, is making sure that we spread opportunity. And so I am so grateful to have all of you all as a partner. You have contributed so mightily to this county. When Vincent and I were talking about all of the businesses that are owned here by the African community, it is much more than he said. It's at least a third of the small businesses in Prince George's County are owned by members of the African community. We know that you contribute not only there, but to business, to medicine. It's just so wonderful, really, all the contributions and the diversity that we have in Prince George's County. It is my desire to make sure that we operate much more as a community, to make sure that we're not just visiting you during election time, but that we instead operate this government together, one that reflects the people who are here, that it reflects all of our beauty and diversity that is here, and that you have a seat on the highest levels of government. When we talk about this office of African affairs, and you know what, I want to say this to you too, we do you no favors when we say that. We're better when we include you. We're better when you are present. We're better when we have your knowledge and experience. We're better when we have all of us at the table together. It makes us stronger. And so the questions you have about how to educate our kids, I'm clear. There's nothing more important we do on any given day than to provide our children with a solid education. And in fact, it's what we owe them. It is the sacred obligation that we have to ensure that our children are well educated. But guess whose responsibility that is? It's ours. And we'll do it together. Much of what we've heard over the last year, most especially, has to do with other people and their power when it comes to education. Nobody has said it is the family's responsibility. That our schools are accountable, but guess what? Our families are accountable as well. That there are certain values that we have to impart to our children about good character, what that looks like, about a work ethic and what that looks like, what high standards look like. These are the things that we will continue to work on and to make sure that our children are first in line and that they are well educated and prepared to take over all of the opportunities that are coming to this county. We have $6 to $8 billion worth of development and opportunities that are coming to Prince George's County in the next few years. And we want to make sure that as those opportunities present themselves, we're first in line to take advantage of them. And the only way that that can happen is that we are prepared. And so that is what I will do, is to make sure that our children are prepared, that our businesses are prepared, trained, and have the capital that they need, also have a fair opportunity to compete when business opportunities come, that you can put your qualifications on the table and be considered for business opportunities here in the county. These are the things that we will focus on. Growing the commercial tax base in Prince George's County is a huge priority for us. And the reason that I tell you that is because in Prince George's County, commercial tax revenues are only at 30%. And residential taxes are at 70%. That means all of the tax revenues that we collect in Prince George's are primarily on the backs of people who live here. 70% of those taxes are on your back. So we pay for public safety, education, roadways, and all of those things on the backs of residents. That does not happen in other counties. It does not. In Montgomery County, 70% of all of their tax revenues are business revenues. Only 30% are residential. We have the exact opposite in Prince George's County. 70% of them are on the backs of residents. This has to change. And that is the reason that growing business in Prince George's County is going to be critically important to us, so that we have the money we need to take care of us. We just do. When we compare ourselves to other local jurisdictions, Washington, D.C. spends $4 billion a year on social services. That's our entire budget. The entire budget of Prince George's County is $4 billion, yet they have, because they have developed business in D.C., they have $4 billion just for social services. They have $2.5 billion just for their schools. And they only have 80,000 children in their schools. And so we really have to continue to work to grow the commercial tax base in our county. And then government services. I hear people say all the time, our roads are too dirty. It's the truth. We have litter. We're not out collecting the trash when we should. We have to make sure the snow is removed, and to make sure that your tax dollars, Prince Georgians pay the second highest tax rate in the state of Maryland, in the state. So no one should have to beg to have government respond to you. When you call, you ought to have somebody answering the phone, making sure that your needs are cared for. So these are kind of things that we will work on. It is what I've done as your state's attorney, and it is absolutely what I will do as your county executive. I'll tell you this last piece, and I know we have questions. As your prosecutor, one of the things that I have been so proud of is that I have done what I said. I make sure that if somebody bothers us, harms us, I am not afraid to take care of that person. For example, 2 weeks ago, I tried a case myself involving a man, and you probably heard about this on the news, who took a gun to the head of his 2-year-old daughter. He put the gun 6 inches from her head and shot her twice in her car seat because he did not want to pay $600 in child support. And so he went out and found her and her mother as she was walking to put this baby in her car seat, shot the mother in the back, and then put the gun 6 inches from this beautiful, the baby just turned 2, put the gun 6 inches from her head and shot her twice and blew her brains right out the back of her head. And this is a case that I took up on my own and made sure that I tried this case. And so I say that to you to say that we make no apologies for doing what we must to protect us. But I have also been on the front lines of making sure that we never make it to the criminal justice system in the first place, that our kids have every opportunity they need to be developed. I've started programs for truancy. I started a program for first-time nonviolent drug offenders to make sure that they get to go to college. That it's very rigorous, but that they have training programs. And when they leave, our program is called Back on Track. We take them to the community college, work with them for 12 to 18 months, and if they're successful in working with us, we take the felony off their record for one time only. Give them an opportunity to be certified. We guarantee them a job. We work with them to develop them. This is what we must do, is to make sure that for those who deserve a second chance, we ought to be the first people there, standing there to make sure that they get that second chance. So these are some of the things that we will do together. But guess what? Prince George's County is the crown jewel of Maryland. Everybody wants to be in Prince George's County. I don't know how many of you read, it was just in the paper this week. I was so proud to hear that Prince George's County's housing recovery, for example, has been nearly miraculous. We are now competing with Montgomery County with one of the strongest housing markets in the state. We went from that awful foreclosure crisis that we were in, and now the housing market here is competitive again. The housing values in Prince George's County have led the state for the last few years, the most rapid recovery we have seen. So in other words, our properties have gained value at about 16 points, and the average in the state is about 6 points. So Prince George's County is really on the move. We've led in job growth in the state for the last 5 years consecutively. Every year for the last 5 years, Prince George's County has led the state of Maryland in job growth. So many areas we are leading, but we ought to continue to make sure that we're leading in every area. There's no place like Prince George's anywhere in this country. No place like it. And so we're going to make sure that we are known for excellence, that we are known for caring for our families. I don't even really care what other people think about us. I care what we think about us. I care that our values are intact, that we're taking care of home, that we're taking care of our families, that we're developing our businesses, growing our economy. I care about those things, and we're going to make sure we do it together. So if you have questions, I'd like to answer your questions, because as you can tell, I can stand up here and talk to y'all all night long and keep talking, but I do want to thank you. The spirit is so beautiful in this room. It really is. And so all of the regard that you have for me, I have to tell you that I have the same regard for you. And so I thank you for having me here. What I can tell you is this, because I know you hear from a whole bunch of people. They always say the same thing. But the truth is, I won't let you down. I will not let you down. I will make sure that the partnership that we have discussed here is one that we will enjoy together, and that we will continue, guess what, to rely on each other. That's a very important point. A very important point. It is not just that you are coming to me, but it is that I need you too. I need you too to make sure that we are successful. This is a partnership. It is a partnership. And so I thank you for having me here. I want to thank the United Brothers. I want to thank Vincent and all of the beautiful sisters who have come out tonight. Thank you all so much. This beautiful establishment, I appreciate it very much. So questions, I don't know how you want me, if you'd like to
All right, so what's going to happen is so we already had a few questions that came out. I'm going to need you to ask that same question from bottom to top. You already have my votes for me. I've already voted for you. That's how I like So I'm not a problem anymore. Let's get some more people to be convinced over here. Okay, I see we have more questions. So when I asked the first question, how come you guys didn't raise your hand? Because now you say everyone is raising their hands. All right, so I'm gonna start with, yes, I'm gonna start with you over here. Let's give this place, so you can join me. Please, when you come up here, I just need you to introduce yourself. And please tell me what part of Africa you come from too. And then we go from there. Thank you. Please, a round of applause for him.
Good evening, Madam Alsobrooks. I've heard about you and tended to support you until the meals. I'm working in between. My name is Mohammed Ba. I'm from Sierra Leone. I'm a business owner in Prince George's County for 20 years. After Africa, Prince George's County has been my home for about 20 years. I live right down here in Glendale, so welcome to Glendale. I worked with Russian Baker at the county 1801 McCormick Drive on the EDI fund in trying to benefit Africa out of those funds. There's a lot of funds in the county, the lottery program if you don't know about it. But usually the guidelines for Africans to qualify and the amount of money they want you to apply for, most African businesses are not qualified for those kind of thresholds that are put out there. And we discovered that I was working with Dr. Fokker and a lot of other Nigerian brothers in that county for 2 years before finally I'm a commissioner for African Affairs in the state of Maryland working with the governor. But there is a lot of things that need to be adjusted because Africans, we are different. We have a lot of real businesses. And one of the biggest areas that Africans need help is the non-profit sector. Because we have churches, we have mosques. Most of us, our churches, we pay for them. Our mosque will pay for them from out of our pocket. How do we navigate to be able to be involved in those areas so we'll be able to get help? So most of our worshippers don't have to actually get money from themselves to pay. I know it's a process of churches and states, but I think there should be somewhere down the line where we'll be able to chip in to help our African brothers and sisters. Thank you.
Questions about non-profit? Okay.
So thank you so much for the question, and I want to make sure that that I know exactly where you want me to go with this. Now, the EDI fund is one of the things that I know I heard you express a concern about, and the EDI fund is the fund, as you all know, that the county executive set up to make sure that we're able to grow businesses in Prince George's County. Now, what you have said to me about there being some difficulty in terms of meeting whatever the qualifications are, the answer that I have for you is that this is the reason that we need these advisory councils, to make sure that we sit down and discuss what the challenges are, and then we craft solutions from there. I would need to know what consistently some of the challenges have been. In other words, you said, for example, that some of it may be capital, that because you make investments in churches and other things, that sometimes the capital is a barrier. Am I understanding that correctly?
The thresholds.
The thresholds.
For the EDI fund, you have to apply for $250,000.
Yes.
And you have to have 40% equity in your business for them to consider you. And the guidelines are too high for our type of businesses.
Okay.
Most Africans need maybe $30,000 to $40,000 to $50,000, but the case is nobody will apply, but nobody will be qualified.
Okay. So what we need to do in that instance is to look at it and to see whether or not there is a way for us to provide, to grow capacity in those businesses so that you'll be able to qualify for that. And so that's what I would like to do, is to look at it. And you know what, we really do have to do it, I think, on a case-by-case basis. But one of the things I think, and it's not just, I know you're talking about just African businesses, but I think what we have to do is to grow capacity for small business has to be a priority in the county, because that's how we're going to really grow the economy from here. So making sure that we make the partnerships that are necessary. You mentioned the state of Maryland, for example, making sure that we look at their, I know they have, for example, MEDCO, the Maryland Economic Development Corporation, and see whether there are ways for us to partner to help grow capacity for some of our small businesses. So that's what we will do. We have to grow capacity, because I have heard that a good number are having difficulty, as you have said, meeting the criteria for that. So let's make sure that we look at it and see how, again, on an individual basis, we can grow capacity and get the lending that is needed so that you can qualify for the EDI fund, because it really has helped us. The reason that we've had that rapid job growth in Prince George's, a lot of it really has had to do with some of the creative things we've done, including the EDI fund that's helped some other businesses. Did I address all of this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, let me have you join us here, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Nnamdi Nnamdi. I'm also a member of United Brothers. All right. Of course, in the past year, I don't know how many times I've heard about Kevin Maxwell and all the controversies. Every day, every time. So, it's like 4 or 5 controversial stuff he's been in. Now, Russian Baker has his full confidence. That's fine. The governor himself, yeah, because the governor Hogan is basically challenging, Russian to, fire him, and he's making it a campaign, issue because, of course, he knows that, Russian is going to be, competing, So anyway, so I don't know what your view is on that, Okay, wonderful. And a follow-up to that, because you may want to answer that too, is as Africans, when we come here, I know I was 29 years when I came here, part of Africa where I come from, Nigeria, and part of Nigeria where I come from. Even though English is the second language, we're pretty good, understanding and speaking English. But a lot of other parts of the continent, Africa, when the kids come here, it's a challenge for them to, assimilate to school. They have challenges, of course they laugh at them. We all have accents, that's fine. And I love my accent, by the way. So what is it that we can do, just like they do for the Spanish people? What can you do to help, have a kind of special program to help assimilate them in that way, so they can at least learn English better, and then get comfortable. Thank you.
Thank you. Those are both great questions. I have to tell you that probably the most popular question I get is about Dr. Maxwell, so I think that's the one easiest to kind of put to bed. First of all, is we need new leadership over the school system. I think that is without controversy. We've got to get new leadership over the school system. I am so tired of turning on Fox 5 and having us headline the news. We can do better. It's horrible. And so we're going to have new leadership over the school system that parents and families have confidence in. But you know what, I have to tell you this about that. Even after we change leadership, and we will, and I think part of the issue is not just Dr. Maxwell, but we're also going to have to just change the whole culture around how we treat education in this county. We need a whole big cultural shift around education. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I'm sick of talking about adults. If you notice, every conversation we have about education in this county discusses somebody's power. They are fixated and obsessed with power. The school board, you keep hearing, oh, the real fix to education in our county is maybe we should just have, if we change the composition of the school board. I have to tell you, I've lived in this county now for 47 years. And we have had an all-elected school board, we have an all-appointed, and we've had a hybrid, and guess what? The state of the school system hasn't changed in the last 25 or 30 years. Yet, these people stand on television one week after the next, and they keep fighting with each other about power. None of the conversations, as you notice, have ever talked about children. None of them. Nobody ever says, what's best for children? What do they need to learn? The challenge that you just raised, nobody says. We have children who are challenged by the fact that English is not their first language. I'd rather have that conversation than talk about who moved my cheese, who has the power. I'm tired of those conversations. They're irresponsible. They are not reflective of the needs that we have. And so I promise you 2 things. One is that we will change the leadership of the school system. It should have been done a long time ago. And the truth of it is, if we had any respect for it, it should have been changed a long time ago. It is not what they think is best, it's what we think is best. And the parents in this county have said fairly unanimously, we don't want it anymore. We want something different. So it should have been changed a long time ago. But even after we do that, again, we have to focus on children again. Schools are for children. So the conversations that we have need to start with children. What's best for children? What do their parents need? And what do their teachers need? Those are the three most important entities in a school. Now, the question you raised about having learners who don't have English as the first language, this is something that we have to focus on. Prince George's County has the largest number of students who speak English as a second language. We lead the state. So what will we do about this? Now, there are dollars that come to Prince George's County every year. There's a funding formula that you've probably heard about called the Thornton Commission. It decides every jurisdiction in the state how much money we get. And the factors they look at is the number. Prince George's County educates the largest number of disabled students in the state. We educate the largest number of students who speak English as a second language. And we educate the second largest number of students who have free and reduced lunch. This means that we are entitled to more money from the state of Maryland and other jurisdictions. That's the reason I bring it up. So I want to tell you this. You know what? The governor, bless his heart, he's not fooling anybody with his political speak against. He's right about Dr. Maxwell. But the other thing is we need to keep our eye on him too, because he better send the money that we deserve from that state house down to Prince George's County. So let's make sure that as he goes about his political speak, that he doesn't start cutting the money that should come to Prince George's County. So it's cute now for him to have his political conversation with Mr. Baker, but when they finish in their political infighting and feuding, the thing we really need from this governor is to keep our eye on Annapolis and make sure every dollar that they owe us, they send us so we can educate our children. For our students who need additional supports, who do not speak English as a first language, you're right. We ought to have supports in the school. We need paraprofessionals in the classrooms. We need other programs to make sure that every single child in our school system has what he or she needs to learn. So again, the governor, bless him, but make sure you send the money to Prince George's County that we deserve. And what I understand is when they consider the formula, there's something called the Kerwin Commission, and I want all of us to remember that. Kerwin Commission is talking about that funding formula. They're now recalculating it. This is going to be of great interest to Prince George's County. We want to know what number they come up with, because we believe that they are now underfunding Prince George's County schools. And be clear, the governor tried to take some money from us too. He went to Annapolis and tried to cut the budget. And our delegation had to fight in Annapolis to make sure that we got the money we deserve. Now, we think after the Kerwin Commission meets and they're supposed to give us the new number in December, that we will be entitled to as much as $500 million additional every year. So this is a big deal. So that's my answer to your question, is that, you're right. If when we start talking about children again, then we'll have an opportunity to understand that some of our children need additional supports for reasons like the one that you stated. Our students who come here from other countries who need additional support in terms of having language help. Some of them have other needs. Some of our children, for example, are in environments where they are not well nourished. Some of our kids come to us and they are not well rested. Some are in homes that are violent. We need to keep our eye on our children, have social workers in schools so that we can identify barriers that make it difficult for them to learn. So let's ask the people who we elect to stop talking about themselves and talk about our kids again and how they can help them to learn.
Anyone in here without children yet? This would be a good time to have children so we can go to school, yeah? Please a round of applause for her one more time, please. Guys, for those of you raising your hands, I'm going to get to you. I'm going to have Ms. Joanna join us here real quick. I've taken note of you guys, all right? So just give us a few minutes, we'll get to you.
Hi, Ms. Alsobrooks. It's such a pleasure to see you again. I have full confidence that you care about the issues that we're discussing, and you've addressed some of them. So I just want to ask, this is from Mr. Iweanoge. He wants to know if you support elected school board or appointed school board or a mix of both. So that's one question. The other question is in the area of education that you already mentioned. I know we've talked about assimilation of new students into the county. But I also think, having lived in many countries, that even the adults that come here, we almost need a program that we have some of it in other counties that helps to bring them into the system. And while it's not very obvious, many Africans come from countries where there are no processes and systems in place. And even with the system of policing and force and all of that, it's not something that people find very easy to understand, because this is a legal country. It took me years to know the difference between legal truth and moral truth. You know, so those are things that you don't learn coming in. So when you come into a country like this, you need to be able to figure out the processes, how do things work, what does it mean to be legal. All of those issues, I think, needs to be addressed. And it goes back to the issue of applying for those forms. Some of us don't even know how do you begin. So everybody bootstraps with their business, and they don't know where to go to get the right funding, who to approach. So I feel like the education needs to be a broader perspective, addressing both adults, young people in colleges, and even bringing them to understand the system that they're in, because it cannot be assumed that they know what to do. My third question you already addressed, and I'm just going to make it more clearer, is that I see children every day in my center who are hungry. And it's funny, but some of them don't have food. And PG County, the area where we are, is designated as an affluent area. So we do not qualify for any support in Maryland. And it doesn't match with what we see. So while it looks like that on paper, the kids that we have to turn away sometimes don't have anything to eat. So how do we address that? How do we ensure that we have programs for summer that's supported by the county? We have food for kids that are hungry in terms of free reduced lunch, and we don't look like we're this affluent community where in actual sense, our houses are expensive, but people are really struggling. So.
Thank you. Those are great questions. I'll start with your first one about the elected versus appointed versus hybrid. And again, I'm going to answer everything very transparently tonight. Is that all right?
That's
so
all
I
right.
tell the truth, right? You want somebody to tell you the truth. So I say elected because that's what the people of our community are interested in. I say that, and I want you to remember that if anybody who tries to keep us stuck right there, they owe us a little bit more than that. Because the truth is we've elected people who are not always qualified. Okay, so I think it would be great also for us to have some qualifications on the school board. So just electing people isn't the end of the equation, because we've had an all-elected school board at times where the individuals on the school board were not great. So I think that we elect, I agree, citizens tell us that they're interested in an elected board. But I think it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. The second question you were asking me about, I'm going to talk about you were talking about the systems. But that's the reason that something like an Office on African Affairs and having officials who are at the cabinet level would be important, because as we have conversations about the needs in the school system, the needs in the social services sector, that's why that voice is important, so that we're represented, so that we understand what the challenges are firsthand, because again, you cannot address an issue that you don't understand or know. And so that's the reason that the representation is important, so that that particular issue can be put on the table. That's the way that we deal with that, is to say, you know, you may not be aware there are some barriers for certain families. Here are the barriers, and then we work through them based on that participation. So that's the way that we address that. On the food, Prince George's, as I said, has the second highest number of students on free and reduced lunch. So we actually do have a really large number of students here who are eligible for free and reduced lunch. We'll make sure that we keep our eye out to see that no child goes home hungry. But when you ask me what do we do about it, the truth is in all of these areas we have to grow the pie. Again, there's no substitute for it. We need more money in this government. Not necessarily, the school system has a $2 billion school system budget, so this is not a poor school system, but it is such a large percentage of our overall budget that, you know, some of these areas we don't have the money. To be very frank with you, that some other jurisdictions have. Washington, D.C. has a $14 billion budget. $14 billion, we have a $4 billion budget. So we're trying to provide for 1 million people. They have 700,000. We're trying to provide for 1 million people on a $4 billion budget, and our neighbor has $14 billion to provide for 700,000 people. It tells you some of the challenges. How do we fix it? That commercial tax revenue that I'm telling you about, the commercial tax base of this county has to grow. So be wary, and this is important. When the people come to you and keep telling you, you know, you've been hearing, the thing we need to do is to make sure, essentially, we attack the developer. That's what you've been hearing, right? Is that, oh, be careful. The developer is doing too much in Prince George's County. We need business in Prince George's County. Now, it has to be responsible, but I've been hearing a lot of my opponents sell this whole, oh, be careful not to be too cozy with business. Guess what? We need business in Prince George's County. Now, nobody needs to be cozy with anybody, not business, not labor, not any special interest, but what we do need is to grow business in Prince George's County. So when you start hearing people frighten you about, oh no, but so-and-so might have ties to business, we want some ties to business because we need to grow the commercial tax base of this county so that we can provide the things we need. Again, nobody doing anything unethical. We're not talking about being controlled by anybody, but we're talking about making smart decisions for our county, and we understand that growing tax revenues is a smart decision. Okay, now there have to be standards around how we do it, but when you ask me what do, we better grow the commercial tax base of this county and find a way to have businesses like this one, localized business, minority business, small business. That's the way that we will grow our economy and grow the tax base in this county.
Please, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately I can't take all your questions because she's got to be in the next meeting. However, that was the reason why I wanted, yes, 2 more. So that was the reason why I wanted these questions asked prior. So I'm going to go back to Mr. Nee, and after Mr. Nee, I'm going to have you, Chinera, come up here again. Please, let's be a little bit more straightforward with the questions, just drop them so people can all have an opportunity to ask too, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of the major things that inspired me about your campaign is the fact that you have a kind of passion for the African community in the county. And I must be honest with you, that was a selling point for me. I publish an African newspaper and I'm passionate about anything African. Now, Africa, we are family oriented. And when I say family oriented, talking about the children, adults, and the seniors. I found out over the years that nothing much has been done for the senior citizens. Let me say the senior immigrants. Senior African immigrants. Nobody seems to care about them. We're talking about the children, how do they eat, how do they go to school. But for us to be comfortable, most of us now see PG County as our home. This is our home, whether we like it or not. Most of us are never going back home. That's the truth. So now to live here, all our culture, everything that has to do with us has to move down here with us. Most of our parents come down here, but they can't even stay because the system is alien to them. So they stay here for a while, they want to go back home. Is there anything that you might put in place that could make the county homely for senior African citizens when they come? So that maybe I had the privilege of talking to the mayor of Takoma Park a couple of months ago, and she talked about some of the programs that she put in place for Africans, from children to adults and seniors. Is there anything like that, having something in terms of leisure? Maybe they have a place to go so they don't have to feel bored. They won't be in a hurry to go back. They too can probably choose to stay here with us.
Yes.
Can you think about something?
Thank you. You know what, I want to answer that in this way. Seniors, I love seniors, and we have done a lot of work. Again, this is one thing that's important. You can't have people come before you and say things that they've never done before. Right. Now, I come to you and tell you that I have worked with seniors over the last, the whole time that I've been in office. In fact, my office is the only office in the state of Maryland that has an elder abuse unit in it, meaning that I take as seriously the abuse of elders as I do anybody else's. So we have a whole unit set up that says if you put your hand on a senior or you exploit them financially, we're coming for you. So I have made sure that seniors have been a priority for us. Now what you've said is true. We need additional focus on seniors to make sure they have unique needs. Trying to understand the unique needs of seniors and make sure that we provide for them has to be a priority for us. In general, in our county, we have underinvested in all of these areas. Areas dealing with people, we have underinvested in all of the social services. This has been a problem for us. So you'll see kind of a common theme. Seniors, addictions, mental illness, all of these areas, we have not done what we should by people. So this is what we're saying. So we have to really invest in it. But the first thing we have to do is identify the individual needs. Just like I said a moment ago, you can't address a problem that you don't understand. So understanding what it is. One of the areas that we have done nothing about is that many of our seniors suffer from dementia. You can go to any other jurisdictions and have facilities that assist families during the day who have to work. with loved ones who are suffering from dementia. You have adult daycare facilities, you have lots of other things. We don't have those things here in Prince George's County. You're right that the activities, the leisurely activities, those are things that we have to be able to provide. Now, I think that we have to begin to develop the right partnerships to do this. I can tell from what you have said, and when you talk about the values that you have, those are the same values that I understand. That family's important, that our children are important, that our seniors are important, that our spiritual life is important. And that brings me to a point. I think that there's a way for us to partner with the faith community also to make sure that a good number of these needs that we have are met. Because unlike some of our neighboring jurisdictions that A, have a larger budget, and B, have all of these nonprofit organizations, Prince George's County has 800 churches. 800 churches here that can assist us in providing many of the needs that we have for our family members if we work together in partnership. That means for the mentoring that we need for our kids, the needs that we have for our seniors. I've seen them do it. The faith community, they have robust activities all week long that will serve the needs of seniors. They pick them up on buses. They provide beautiful luncheons and those kinds of things. But it is a matter of us working together to first identify our concerns and then finding really creative ways to make sure that we address them. So that's what we will do, but we won't forget our seniors. That much I promise you. You know what? If God is willing, each of us will be a senior at some point.
Amen.
And look, we better make sure we have done the right things, right? So that we will be cared for as we age as well, right? And so we'll make sure that we do that. Affordable housing is an issue for seniors that really makes me sad. I go around and talk to a good number of seniors who are really insecure about their living arrangements and other things. But we'll make sure, I promise you, that we will address as many of these needs. You said one thing about me that I really appreciate. And you said that I care a lot about the African community. And I do. And I want to tell you that in general, I care about humans. I am a God-fearing person. I love people. I love people. And I will do everything I can to make sure that you're cared for.
So we were just discussing right now. You see how quick it was? I just asked her if she'll be willing to come to Nigeria so we can make her the president of Nigeria. She said yes.
I do want to go to Nigeria.
Yes. We'll take you.
You know, we used to have sister city programs. We used to have the sister city relationships.
Exactly. You know, I used to, first of all, very quick announcement. Those of you that have been given either envelopes or forms, envelopes come here, forms go there, all right? Because we want to make sure we follow the campaign, okay? So I know we have all these questions, but you know, time is not really on our side. So I'm gonna go back to Ms. Chinyere, and then I'm gonna take one more person after her, and then we'll go from there, all right? So please, I would appreciate 30-second questions from now on, please, okay? Thank you.
Hi, Ms. Alsobrooks. My name is Chinyere, and I'm from here. I was born in DC, but I'm the daughter of Nigerian immigrants. And I had asked a question earlier, so I'll just really quickly kind of rehash it out. I'm a small business owner. I actually own 2 small businesses, one that was started by my father. And one thing that I noticed in the sector that I operate in, where it is primarily construction, environmental remediation, there are certain policies and certifications in place that allow for minority business owners, African business owners to really have a seat at the table and to be able to equally compete for opportunities when it comes to the development that's taking place in their particular community. And an example I'll give is that one of the businesses I own is in DC, it's in Ward 8, and there is a whole bunch of development and revitalization taking place in the ward, but you rarely have any types of domestic, small businesses that are domestic to that area that are engaged in those projects. Primarily, you'll see larger, well-established companies from out of the state that aren't African-owned, people that have, you know, had an advantage coming in and being able to partake. And so I was so excited when you talked about the $6 to $8 billion of business opportunity that's coming to Prince George's County. So I just want to hear a little bit more in depth. What are some of the things that you have? What are some of your ideas to make sure that African business owners that are domestic to Prince George's County, that they truly have a seat at the table and that they can compete, and that we're not just used as a front of, as far as meeting a subcontracting requirement, and then we're pushed aside, never heard from again? Okay.
Well, First of all, let me say how I am impressed I am that someone this young has 2 businesses. This is awesome, right? Oh my gosh. So congratulations to you. And then I tell you that we have laws in Prince George's County that have been passed over the last several years to make sure that we are honoring businesses at 40%, local, small and local business, minority businesses. So we have now certain thresholds that we have to meet. And some of this legislation is fairly new, and part of what we must do is to simply follow the legislation. It requires that we have to follow that for new opportunities that are coming to Prince George's County, that we first have to give a certain percentage of those opportunities to small, local, and minority businesses. So we'll make sure that we do that. The same is true inside the government, making sure that the services that we need inside the government, we have the same set-asides, for lack of a better way of saying it, that we have to honor. Now, the one thing we have to do that we have not done is to make sure that we identify ahead of time which small businesses exist in the county, because I think sometimes that is the challenge for us. There right now is no running accurate list of the businesses that exist here. There is no, we have no way of knowing what all the businesses are. So I think that one of the things that we must do is to simply spend the money, really to get an accurate accounting of the businesses that are registered to do business here, so that when those larger opportunities come up, then we know right away, well, we have that kind of business in Prince George's County, and we can actually, in a proactive way, go out and seek out some of those businesses to compete for those opportunities. So this is what we have to do. One of the common complaints I've heard is that we use the same businesses over and over and over again. That people put their qualifications on the table, but we go with the same folks. So we're going to work with our business chamber. We're going to work also with the county council, where they passed the legislation, CB 72, making sure that these businesses have to be selected at a certain percentage so that it is equitable. And we'll make sure that we enforce it. Because I think part of the challenge, it doesn't mean anything to have it if we don't enforce it. So enforcing it and making sure we're aware of the businesses that are here. I think the district does something with maybe a green book, where they list out some of these businesses. Those are some of the things we'll do. And you know what, and quite honestly, we'll look around the country and make sure that we see examples of it where it's being done well, and we'll replicate some of the good ideas that we can find around the country as to how businesses are engaged. So we'll do some of that as well.
All right, so what's going to happen right now is I'm going to be standing here with you guys, so those questions remain at 4 seconds from now. I'm going to call, yes, Carol, join me over here. Can you come over here? Drew, can you come here? As you see what I'm about to do right now, putting all of you together. So people can hit yourself if you're talking too much. All right, if there was one more person. All right, come on. So guys, please, let's, as you can see, she's getting stronger by the questions, okay? Excuse me, ma'am? Can you join me again? All right, okay, fine. All right, so this is the last battle right now, 1 against 4. Where's the 4th person?
I'm my wife, not me. Me, I'm my wife.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, so.
And maybe my answers have been too long.
All right, okay, I like that. Please, a round of applause for her. You see, she's very understanding. Very understandable.
All right, thank you very much. Angela, I think this is the second time I'm listening to you. I had to dash down from Colombia just to listen to you.
Thank you for coming.
My name is Rotimi Ikomi. I'm the CEO of one of the non-profit organizations that facilitates donation of medical equipment to African countries. My question, it's not a question really, but you see, a lot of people have been asking what they expect from you. My question is, what do you expect from us? Thank you.
You know what, I like that question. And what I expect from you is exactly what you expect from me. Respect and partnership. I expect that we would work together with each other. So we expect the same things of each other, is that we work with each other, always in good faith, right? That I give you an opportunity and you give me an opportunity. That's all you can ever ask of, right? That we give each other a fair opportunity, that we communicate communicate seamlessly with each other. In other words, we don't just wait for problems to arise to talk to each other, and we on a regular basis keep the lines of communication open and that we support each other. Those are the things I think we can expect from each other, but it starts with mutual respect, and because we have common goals. And as long as we keep that in mind, and you know what, the truth of it is we will never agree on every single issue. Nobody will. You know, and it is dishonest for anybody to say in 100% of every circumstance that we're going to see things always the exact same way, but we will work diligently to make sure that in those issues that are challenging for us, we come to the center and find a solution that respects our common interests. So let's make sure that's what I expect, and hopefully that's what you expect from us.
Hi, Angela. My name is Andrew Alsobrooks. I run a real estate development company out of Prince George's County here. And my question goes in two phases. We've talked about schools and everything else. And I'm going to say this is not a question, that schools drive property values. And a lot of times when I see my friends, they make money, they move out of the county. But for me as a developer in Prince George's County, if I want to develop, the impact fees are so high. I mean, Howard County is about half the price of Prince George's County. DC has no impact fees. Baltimore City, DC has no impact fees. For me to build, before I can even dig ground in Prince George's County, I have to pay about $25,000 to $30,000 depending on where the property is located in Prince George's County. I know the county has to make money, but a place like DC, I would build in DC because I have no impact fees. Howard County has a third of that amount. Baltimore City and Baltimore County have no impact fees. Another thing about that is also getting permits in Prince George's County is really complicated. I can tell you right now, I have about five permits waiting for approval. While I could go to Baltimore City and I could get permits approved in half the time that I have to wait for in Prince George's County. So I would like to know, what are you going to do about that? Because like when O'Malley was governor of Baltimore City, he created a one-stop shop in Baltimore City. And I could go into the one-stop shop and I could get all my permits approved. Just move from one place to another, and my permits will be approved in a matter of weeks. But in PG, we wait about 5 to 6 months to get approvals for permits.
Well, you know what, so, well, two things I want to say. One is I like that you all call me Angela. Anyone who calls me Miss Alsobrooks, I'd have to run right out of the room. I mean, we aren't friends. But you know what, you almost answered it for yourself. You said O'Malley did something well in Baltimore. We're going to find all the places where it's done well and steal as many good ideas as we can. So that's exactly what we're going to do. If we look at the one-stop shop is what solved the issue for Baltimore City, we'll look around and you'll see that a lot of their bright ideas will find a home right here in Prince George's County. I have heard over and over again about the permitting process. I know that we still have work to do, that many of our business owners lose money waiting here because time is money. And many of them lose money. So we're going to continue to do our best to improve the permitting process here so that there is certainty involved in it and so that you have an idea. That's the other thing I hear. There's no certainty involved in the permitting process, is that, you know, you think you have all of the things that are required and then there's some new requirements that are explained to you in the last minute. So we're going to continue to improve the process here. Now the impact fees, I have to tell you, I have to look at. I'm not sure about the impact fees. This is a new issue that I'm hearing now, but I do hear about the permitting process and how cumbersome it is. But what I'll tell you is we'll look around, we'll find the best ideas, and we'll steal them and bring them right here to Prince George's County.
Good evening, Miss Angela. My name is Carol Arema. My first name is Oluwapo, but you know it's always easier for people to call me Carol. I've lived in Prince George's County all my life. My parents migrated from Nigeria. And, you know, I've listened to a lot of things that you've said today, and I don't want to take up a lot of our time, so I just want to run through some things really quickly. The Office of African Affairs that you're going to put together, you know, I just have a charge that that it improves the life of Africans in this country. My parents came from Africa, and a lot of times when they want to do anything, they always call me. I have to do everything for them. I have to help them apply for DDA. I have to help them apply for Social Security. I have to do everything for them. I have to get a lawyer. So in general, yes, I believe your Office of African Affairs will help, you know, resolve some of those issues. even though when I talk to people, I don't have an accent because I wasn't born in Nigeria, but my name is African, and I know that they're discriminating against me. I'm a stronger force than my parents' generation. I'm smarter, and I'm wiser. I know some of the buzzwords, and I know that they're discriminating against me. Because when they look at my resume or when they look at my name, even when I come for school meetings, they look at my name and, you know, they treat me in the dumbest way. For instance, my son, he brought home a paper from school. It had 18 problems on it. He got 7 wrong, and they marked it 10 out of 10, 100%, because they are tired of me writing them. They're tired of me complaining that he needs assistance, he needs special education. At this point, I am frustrated with PG County schools. I've retained an attorney. And, you know, so it brings me to my final question. I am one of the people, I've lived in PG County all my life. I'm getting so tired of the politics. I've written Rashawn Baker, no response. I've reached out to many people, and it just seems like I don't have a voice. So my question to you is, if I reach out to you after the election, what is your response time? Are you going to respond to me, or are you going to, or, you know, will my letter get lost? Every letter I send to you, will it get lost? Or are you going to work on it? How long is your working on it going to be something that I can see, a result that I can see? What is the time frame for change? If I decided not to sell my house and stay in Prince George's County and wait it out, what is the time frame for change?
Well, you know what, they have this saying that past performance is an indication of the future, right? And so past performance is an indication of the future. I'm not uncomfortable with your question at all. I have never had a problem responding to people, and that's what I'm known for. Now, I can tell you that a person may respond to you and say, you know what, we're going to have to try to figure out a way to resolve the concern that you have. But responding to you is the lowest standard, to be honest with you. It's like our standards have become so low that responding is a big deal. That's the least you can expect from me, is a response. Now, whether or not I'm able to, in every instance, provide the thing that you're asking for, I'm not sure. Because sometimes these things, and again, I'm very honest with you, but whether or not a person responds to you, that's the lowest denominator. You deserve a response. You deserve to have a government that is that cares and answers your questions and takes your phone calls. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mabwese Wadiyeli. I'm actually Vincent Iweanoge's cousin.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I am. And it's like Caroline took most of the words and the questions that I wanted to ask. But I have more to ask for working mothers, okay, that are living here. In PG County, just like they say, residential tax kind of goes high, we have mostly healthcare providers in every home in PG County that is African descendant. We all have healthcare providers, but we don't have so much like hospitals or healthcare places where we work. We literally work outside PG County. So I'm asking if $68 billion worth of the business that is coming into PG, is it including the hospitals, adult care, or whatever that can actually benefit us, the working mothers that actually travel outside here. We all go to Howard County, DC, Montgomery to work, and that is a driving for us. That we can't even come home if there's an emergency because it takes us minutes, actual hours to drive. So,
well, I'm a working mother too, so I'm going to join the ladies in this concern about having to drive these babies across the line to Children's Hospital and other places and driving our family members to get specialized care. So we have good news. One of the things that I'm so excited about is, did you know the Children's Hospital is opening up a satellite facility over at Woodmore. So we now have Children's Hospital is in the process of building a satellite facility. They have 2 operating rooms in this facility, and they will be able to also have much of the specialized care that we've had to travel to Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C. for. It's right here at Woodmore Town Center. You'll notice it to the back of Wegmans. Near that hotel, they're building a beautiful hospital, a children's hospital is, and we'll be able to have our kids have first-rate health care there. In addition to that, the regional medical facility is coming to Largo, where we have partnered with the University of Maryland Medical Center And we are now going to be able to have a lot of the specialized care that we've needed for heart care and other things that we've had to go to Washington Hospital facility and to Georgetown and all of those places. Now you can stay right here. And that is the goal of all of this, essentially, is at the end of it, you should be able to shop at home, dine at home, get your health care at home. You should be able to care for all your needs right here in Prince George's County. That is what we're working toward. And the good news is, it's on its way.
Thank you very much. I do understand so many of you have many other questions, but it's okay for now. I'm going to ask the last question, unfortunately. I'm sorry, I can't give anybody the microphone. My question is, do you need an assistant? Okay, so she says she needs more assistants, so we're all assistants here, all right? All right, please, I'd like to call on the owner of this restaurant, KOF, please. If you can join us here very briefly. And guys, please do not forget the envelopes, okay? Make sure we get over to this gentleman right there. Can you raise your hand one more time? That's a cute little reason design like that. So that's like Africans, right here. So it's right here, please. And the forms to the table over there, okay? So we can follow up with the campaign. Thank you very much.
Oh yes, oh yeah. Mr. Ola, I want to say thank you so very much for generously hosting us tonight. Can you all please help me to thank the owner of this establishment? And I have to tell you that this will not be my last time coming here either. So I want to thank you for generously having us here tonight. Expect to see us again and to bring other people here to patronize this wonderful business that you have. And also, so thank you so very, very much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Look forward to more. Look forward to more. And then so everybody, I thank you so much. I have enjoyed myself so much here tonight. I tell you, the spirit is so beautiful in this room. From the way we started tonight to the way we ended, I thank you for your questions. I thank you for sharing your concerns with me, for giving me an opportunity to hear them and giving me an opportunity to answer them. And the thing that I can tell you is that I will work so hard to make sure that 4 years from now, we're not having these same conversations about the same issues over and over and over again.
8 years.
Oh, 8! We
eight.
And that I do not take your support lightly. I appreciate it so much. I will continue to work to earn it over and over again. We need you. We have, as you've heard, 73 days. And when the 73 days are over, I believe that we're going to be very happy with the work that we have done together. But it's just the beginning. After that, we have the opportunity to make all of the things that we have been concerned about and expressed tonight a reality. And you know what? You can count on me, and I know that I can count on you. So thank you again for having me here tonight. May God continue to bless all of you all. Vincent and the others know how to get in touch with us. Look, we'd love to see you. We have an office that is nearby. So that anytime you all want to stop by Largo, we'll leave the information. Please sign up with us so that we can stay in touch with you, your email addresses and everything. And look, y'all, let's march toward victory. We have 73 days, June 26th. We're gonna need to see everybody coming out, and we thank you all so much. I want to thank Mr. DJ for being here. I want to thank Joe Cadman who came in, Rachel Rice and Associates, and Tony and the United Brothers. Thank you all so much. Very, very much for having me, for all of your support. God bless all of you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, ladies and gentlemen, do not forget the envelopes I keep speaking about is for the fundraising. Please, by all means, make sure you get it over here. The United Brothers, please do not forget to come over to this side. I've been waiting for you guys. And then also to follow the campaign, make sure you fill the form out and drop it right there so we can let you know what's going on and get you prepared for June 26th, all right?